Hello, everyone, and welcome to this week's edition of the Geeking Out podcast. I am the Athletic Geek, joined by CJ again this week,
Yo.
and we're doing a watch along. Another watch along. This time it was another requested watch along for SummerSlam 1991, which this is going to be interesting because other than two matches on this card, I haven't watched this. Like I've seen two matches from this event, but other than that, I really have not seen this whole card. So this is going to be a first for me. This pay per view happened before I even began watching wrestling. As a matter of fact, I was 2 years old. Yeah, 2 years old.
Yeah, you were too. So, yeah.
Yeah.
I've seen this maybe once in its entirety, but it's been a really long time and everything melds together. So,
Yeah. Yeah. For better or worse. But
interesting choice of phrases for what we're about to watch.
yeah, because this is also when the Macho Man and Miss Elizabeth were getting married. It was billed as the match made in heaven and the match made in hell.
Correct.
And well, we'll just get to it. There's a lot of stuff. This will more than likely be a two-parter. Actually, there's no more than likely. It will be a two-parter, but if you'd like to watch along with us, go ahead and pull SummerSlam Season 4, Episode 1 up on your Peacock app. And yes, calling it SummerSlam Season 4, Episode 1 just made me die a little on the inside.
Should pull
we,
up your premium live event
yeah.
and fully die on the inside.
Right now, the best I could do it on my end was 000000001.
Same.
Yeah, so I guess just pause it on the black screen and press play now. And there's Hulk Hogan, and there's Macho
And
Man.
I hate it already.
Yeah. Hey, there's Sergeant Slaughter. Well, I guess I'm supposed to hate because he's with Iraq. But then we just met Sergeant Slaughter, and he's a swell fella.
And he was lovely.
I wonder how many people actually thought they were getting married for real, and not the fact that they're just like getting married on screen.
Um, I think probably at this time a lot.
Yeah.
A good majority. I know that I know my mom thought it was real. She my mom is Mark. My mom is Mark. She's not a huge wrestling fan, but it was on and me and my dad liked it, so she had zero choice in the matter. But she paid very little attention to it and really didn't care. So she thought that at the very least, that the weddings were 100% legit. So it's like, no.
Well, we have an interesting three-man booth there: Monsoon, Heenan, and Piper.
Excellent.
Three of my favorite people in wrestling, right there.
Mm-hmm. Three fantastic speakers.
Yep. Even though sometimes Piper on commentary is, but I didn't say three of my favorite commentators. I said three of my favorite people in wrestling.
I mean, comparatively speaking, Piper is really not that bad now that we've seen what really bad commentating is.
I wonder which one you're referring to.
Oh, you can just take your pick.
Are we referring to JR and AEW sometimes? Are we referring to Mike Adamle? Are we referring to, you know, Yeah, any number of things.
You pick a promotion, and I can find you someone who's just horrible at commentating.
Impact.
Hey.
Hey.
Okay, Impact doesn't have bad commentators at the moment. I'm sure that
And
if I
even when
thought
they had
about it,
Don,
I
and
could
even
find.
Don West, I grew to
Yeah.
love.
Like, I'm sure if I really, really thought about it, I could find somebody, but not off the top of my head.
I kind of forgot that Steamboat was in the WWF at this time.
Yeah. This is probably why I'm so into freaking dragons and stuff now. Because this was the coolest thing to me as a kid.
Yeah, that's kind of and love that camera angle. Just looking at Steamboat's back, didn't even see the fire being, what the fuck. That is some NASCAR on Fox. You're missing the shot shit right there. If you know, you know. So we're getting the baby faces coming out, but fuck all the heels. They don't get an entrance.
No, this is not WrestleMania. Nobody gets grand entrances here.
Who even got? We got the Warlord. We got the Model. I didn't see who the other one was. There's Bulldog. So I guess this is the early '90s equivalent of get everyone on the card.
I don't think in the early 90s they had to get everyone on the card. Maybe let's try to sell as many tickets as we can.
Yeah. Oh, that was that was Paul Roma. That wasn't the Model. I feel very terrible for. I feel like I've insulted Rick Martel now.
Way to go.
Yeah. The only thing I know about Paul Roma is on the Horsemen DVD that the WWE produced. Um, I'll give WWE enough credit. They made sure to let Paul Roma speak his piece and defend himself after he had all Paul Roma, or after he had Ric Flair and Arn Anderson and all and Triple H say, like, he doesn't fit, he's not a good four horseman, and they at least let Paul Roma defend himself, but then it just came off laughable when he said Ric Flair wishes he was me, and it's like, okay, I know Ric Flair's had a lot of problems. I mean, a lot of problems. He's continuing to have problems,
He
but
is a problem.
yeah. Ric Flair, is a synonym for problem, but I highly doubt Ric Flair wishes he were you, bud. I highly doubt that. We're getting Horseman versus Steamboat right now. Boom.
Yeah. I mean, that's how they're working it, though.
Yeah. So I guess this is a question like, what's better, having a battle royal with a bunch of people or having randomness 6-man tag match with three random baby faces and three random heels. I mean, I know not all random heels, but still, it's just kind of like three. This is kind of like the Social Outcast versus like three random baby faces. As modern of a spin as I could put on that.
Well, I mean, I don't remember anything coming into this. So maybe there was a buildup. Maybe there was a logical storyline explanation, semi logical storyline explanation. We're talking about the WWE, of why
To be
these
fair, they're a
three
little
and
more
these three.
logical back then.
Slightly. Well, yes and no, because we're in the early 90s where it's not necessarily logical, but they did try to make storylines.
They tried a little harder back then.
They got a lot better at trying and logical storylines in the mid to late 90s than they did the early 90s. It was a lot less. It was a lot more about character, a lot less about logic. But I assume that they probably had some kind of a storyline going with the 3 and the 3. So it's not as random as just like a battle royal to me, but in what they're trying to get over now, a battle royal does it better because they can put 30 men in the battle royal and overuse essentially the Royal Rumble gimmick and be fine. Everybody gets a payday for the big card and everybody gets on the show and they don't have to spend TV time making up stories for it, even though they could desperately use TV filler.
Right.
So I think for the time period, this worked better than that would have. It's probably a lot less chaotic for the wrestlers too.
Right. Well, it's chaotic, but I mean,
It's chaotic, but it's not like you have to be working the whole time you're in there. You get to tag in and out.
right. But
You don't have to worry about stealing
this would
anybody's
be something
spot
that
or thunder.
this would be something I'd like to ask wrestlers. Like when you're doing a multi-man battle royal, is that easier or harder? Because sometimes you just gotta like punch, punch, kick, kick. I mean, you gotta do it the whole time. But like a lot of times, you're not doing like any moves like this. You're just punch, punch, kick, push, punch, punch, kick, push, choke, push, 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 punch, punch, kick, punch. Oh my God, I'm eliminated. And that's it. So I'd like that's a question I'd like to ask a wrestler, but it's never like naturally came up in the like in any of the wrestler interviews I've done.
Well, you should ask.
It's
Hey guys,
I finally get somebody like I'll get like Cody Rhodes on the show and be like, hey, what made you leave AEW? But before I'm not was going to ask you about that, but like I'm not now. What I
I
am going
really
to
want to
ask
know
you
about
is
the difference between multi-man tag teams and battle
yeah,
royals.
yeah. So is it hard to work a multi-man tag or a big battle royal? Screw why you left AEW. That's the question I know. Here's my answer. Thank you, Cody, and that'll be it for us this week.
He would probably appreciate that more.
He pro.
He's like, oh, good. I'm glad you asked me the question that I can actually answer. Or he'd be like, I don't want to talk wrestling.
That would be like the a little. If I ever got like Cody Rhodes or Kenny Omega to ever do this podcast, I would take a page out of the Wrestle Crap playbook. Um, when way back in the day, Wrestle Crap interviewed Vince Russo, and they had a real interview with Vince Russo, and then they're going to do another one that's supposed to be more in. They said this would be a more in depth, a much more heated interview than last time. Be ready. I'm like, oh, okay, yeah, let's do this. And like right out the gate, the first thing that already asked Vince Russo is like, so who did you find hotter? Julie Newmar or whatever. And they're
Asking
literally
the burning questions.
and they're literally just talking about like random stuff. So I thought like, spoiler alert, but I think I don't know. I still think this might be fun. Be like, oh my God, gonna ask Cody the big questions, gonna ask Kenny Omega the big questions, and then just ask like, so video game, like ask Cody questions about comic books and video games, ask Kenny about comic books, video games, and anime, and like that would be what I'd do. I wouldn't ask a single wrestling question anywhere. Just talk about other things.
Well, and maybe I've dreamed this because I feel like it's been a really long time since I heard this and I haven't seen anything about it. But Cody, I thought was supposed to have a podcast about literally everything nerdy but wrestling.
Yeah, I mean, we're dating ourselves a little bit with this talk, but yeah, I don't know what happened. Maybe that's why he left AEW.
So he could pursue podcasting. Well, shit, it made Pat McAfee a ton of money, so
Yeah.
I can't say a whole lot.
Hmm.
Look at all of Steamboat's hair.
Yeah.
Look at all the hair. Look at just all the hair there. All the mullets.
Yeah, this is a fun game. We would it was always fun to just point out mullet, all the different mullets. Like, here's Shawn Michaels mullet, Undertaker mullet, Bret Hart kind of a mullet, um,
Bret
Ricky
Hart had a
Steamboat
mullet.
mullet. Bret's, I'll say, is a little less mullety. It was a little bit more like naturally long hair, like kind of like what we got going on with Carrie back there.
I would say Carrie's is more of a wolf cut. I know that we are now like coming very steeply out of your territory. Uh, it's not necessarily like just long hair, but it's a wolf cut. It's odd. It's an odd way to cut hair. Um, but it's also just like the mullet making its comeback. It's basically just jagged cutting your hair and like cutting out a hole for your face.
Right.
It's really rough, and you can basically do it yourself, and it's better to do it yourself because then it looks rougher, because when you cut your own hair you do typically not a great job, and it will piss off any hairdresser you go to after you do it.
Yeah.
who
What, what?
who knew we were going to talk about hair care and cuts today with SummerSlam 91, but here we are.
Here we are. I mean, with all due
Can also
respect,
be
with all due
great.
respect to the babyface tag team, because they're three guys I enjoy overall. Um, I just I guess this is one thing. Like, yeah, and maybe we'll notice more as the show progresses. But this was before WWE became like montage people. Like, there may
Yes.
be like a couple montages, but like, you know, somewhere along the line they'd have like a video package for every match. And I know some people are like, oh, I don't want to see that. I watch the show. I just want to see the match, and that's fine. I guess you can think that way. But like, I like it because especially when I go back and watch something, it's like, oh, hey, I know what's going on. Like, it
Yep.
is. Chris Claremont once said every comic book is somebody's first issue. And he always said that, he would always try and put some sort of, not like completely, and the baby faces win.
Yeah.
He wouldn't like completely have to use a bunch of time to reiterate, a bunch of pages and panels to reiterate, but he would try and catch somebody up if they were just walking through the store, found the comic book, and bought it, that they would be able to at least feel like they could jump in. And that's something that I think really needs to be done with pro wrestling. Every Dynamite, every Raw, every pay-per-view is somebody's first, and making it accessible for new fans is a good thing.
Yeah, and it helps when we're going back and we're watching these back. Like, okay, did this happen yet? No, this didn't happen yet. It was this and this and this is the reason why we did this. Hey,
Mr. Perfect.
back when
And
the Intercontinental Championship meant something.
yeah. Oh, you'll have people still tell you, like, that it's a bigger deal than the AEW title.
Is it though?
I will say right now, if this were 1991, yes, it was.
Yes, in 1991, yes. Is it now?
No, but it's just fun. It's funny. Here is one of the two matches I've seen from this card. Here is probably one of my favorite Bret Hart matches of all time. Like if you're to say, list your top 10 favorite Bret Hart matches, two matches with Mr. Perfect are going to be on the list. But I just find it funny, again, like, I'm not knocking people for liking what they like, but I still see like I know these people that are just like, oh my god, WWE, oh my god, it's WrestleMania, oh my god, it's Money in the Bank, like, do you not understand what that is? That's so cool. It's like, AEW can't do that, and I'm like, whatever you say.
When people said that about WWF long, long ago, that WrestleMania wasn't anything and they can't do that and blah, 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 blah. And yet
Yeah,
here we are
yeah, I just think it's
all these years later.
like I I Brian Zane says it on his channel, like what you like, don't be a dick. But like at this point, I just like I cannot see how you think that anything is treated better in WWE than AEW right now, or anywhere else in wrestling for that. I can't see how you think WWE treats anything well in wrestling unless you just go, oh hey, um, it's bigger and it makes more money, and that's all that matters. Like unless you just take that route, I don't I don't understand where you think they're making anything seem important, more important than literally any other wrestling promotion ever right now. I just can't. I can't do it. I cannot fucking do it.
Well, um, they are making a big deal, and oh goodness gracious, Bane wants to interject his opinion right now, apparently. So there's that. He agrees with me that they are making a big deal right now about Roman Reigns and his run with the championship. Like they've done a good job of protecting him and building him up and making that seem like a super monster deal, and it is. It's just that they have this severe tunnel vision where they can only focus at one thing at a time.
Yeah.
So while that's a big deal, they've forgotten what they're going to do with the Intercontinental title. It was on someone who was injured for most of the year. Still didn't matter. They kind of have forgotten about the U.S. championship. The tag championships don't mean shit. And people have even forgotten that they have women's tag team belts now. Like, yeah, like their track record isn't fantastic when you look at how many titles they have and how little care they put into all the others. But the one, I mean, you can't say that they don't have the ability to make something sound or look important because they did it. When they want to, they can do it.
Yeah. They just choose not to, and just no. I just if if everybody wants to kiss up to WWE and like that's your bag. I mean, there's people that kiss up to AEW and New Japan and GCW and all that other good stuff. But since it's just basically kind of at this point, like when you try and convince me that something is important because it's a WWE championship, it's like, okay, whatever. Like this is the person that already told you that belts are props and we're entertainment and these things are fiction and they mean nothing. So don't try and tell me that and I like Sami Zayn. Don't try and tell me that Sami Zayn is a much bigger deal in wrestling than than Hangman Page is because well he's the Intercontinental Champion. It's like no, no, and I love Sami Zayn, but no, no, no. Unless it was like the Intercontinental Championship right here, in which case, yeah, I could. I don't know if I'd agree, but I would be able to. I wouldn't think you're just blindly sucking up to WWE at this point.
Well, and kind of the difference here is not a whole lot of people know about who Hangman Adam Page is, or more people know who Roman Reigns is. Um, I think a lot more people, especially in the 90s, the early 90s, were aware of Mr. Perfect and Bret Hart. Maybe that's just me, but I think that it was probably a little bit more popular. They're a little bit more household names.
Yeah, well, WWF at this time was still had that buzz from the boom.
Mm-hmm.
It didn't the bottom hadn't quite fallen out yet.
Well, I mean, we see the crowd behind him right now. It's it's full. It's a very large house, and it seems to be packed.
Yeah.
So they were up. They were up for business, and these two were pretty big stars.
I do really like this match a lot. And it was actually Perfect's last match for quite a while.
Yeah,
Like Perfect was. Keep in mind this, folks. We only went on our tangent, but Perfect is wrestling hurt right now.
yeah.
He is wrestling with a severe back injury that is going to put him out of wrestling for over a year. And
And
he's look at all those bumps.
just taking bumps right and left.
So the one thing I really, because TV was much different back then. It wasn't just we're used to the Monday Night Raw style of doing things, where it's like all that everything happens on Raw, and then maybe Superstars or SmackDown or whatever. But um, this was definitely a much different time where like TV just kind of had some promos and not even like a whole like you didn't have these like real competitive matches on TV.
If you had a match, you'd have a extreme squash.
Yeah. Yeah, you just wasn't as a different time. Will you stop? Like I heard that from Monsoon now, which was nice. I remember making a joke with Nick back when Michael Cole was doing the heel Michael Cole shtick about 2011 that WWE needs to develop a TV that if you hit a button, it replaces Michael Cole with Heenan and Monsoon.
That would be fantastic.
So there's the one thing I can like. I never really got Coach. I don't know why there. I don't know who Coach was. I don't know how he came in, and I don't know why Bobby Heenan's not there anymore. But I guess it was just a thing that had we been watching all the weekly TV at the time, maybe we'd understand.
Yeah. He's very, very concerned about his ripped up gear.
Yeah,
Like, what am I gonna do with this? What am I gonna do with
well, that
this?
pissed you off. Like gear's not cheap.
Like, you son of a bitch.
Of course, me, that's karma because I used to hear that Kurt Hennig would rib people by like cutting a pant leg off or, cutting people's shoelaces and cutting a sleeve off their shirt and stuff like that. So I used to hear that was like one of his go-to ribs, but I know Dynamite Kid did that to everybody. And that's the nicest thing Dynamite Kid ever did to anybody was cut up their clothes. it it's funny, we're talking about ribs, and everybody kind of looks at Kurt Hennig's jokes as like, ah, ha, 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 and everyone knows he's Kurt. But then like you hear Dynamite Kid, and people are like, ah, what a piece of shit he was, and I don't think he like went as violent um, as Dynamite Kid, but I do remember once hearing the Honky Tonk Man say, "There's difference between a rib and destroying someone's property." And when you're hearing Honky Tonk Man say that you're going a little too far, I think maybe you've gone a little too far.
You probably need to reevaluate what you consider funny in a joke if Honky Tonk Man is calling you out.
Yeah.
I think you just had to have some sort of practical joking way about you to be a professional wrestler in this time. Like you I don't think you could get by with just being super serious and not being able to take or play a prank on people.
Yeah. Uh, which, I mean, you could say now it's a good thing they've kind of gotten past that in this day and age.
Yeah, because well, I mean it's been at least a decade now where you know some people who are getting older now have done some things that got them a lot of heat, um, especially to women in the locker room. But
Mm-hmm.
I think that kind of made them all realize that okay, well maybe we can't do this anymore because the things that they would have done to each other would absolutely 100% not be acceptable now.
Right. Yeah, absolutely. But yeah, um this is an amazing match. I'm still into this match. I and still Kurt Hennig is working with a severely injured back right now.
As you say that, and he climbs up the rope.
Yeah. And this is one of the phenomenal match. And I hear Bobby Heenan go, "I have a right to my opinion." So I know there might be somebody go like, "Oh my God, this is nothing like what Kenny Omega and Will Ospreay did." There's a reason why Dave did not give this 5 stars. Hey, I
It's
have a right to my opinion, just like Bobby Heenan.
mm-hmm. It's different.
And I also want to say this: I was just pulling two names out because I know Omega and Ospreay have never wrestled, so you can get it. Okay, okay. I'm a Kenny Omega fan, but he has like become like the stereotypical. That's not good. Kenny Omega did this, and I hate that.
I saw a meme the other day, um, and
Oh,
it was
jeez.
yeah. Huh.
Eh,
Um, stop. Don't start.
Get that damn cat out of the alley, bro.
And we just lost like 5 subscribers.
Hey, that was talked about on WWE Story Time. I
And we
didn't.
can leave it there.
I didn't do the one that they talked about on Jerry Lynn and Mikey Whipwreck's podcast. You guys can look that one up. That's how you lose subscribers. Go on.
That's how you lose co-stars. That's how you very specifically lose co-stars. Um, oh, but no, I saw a meme the other day that was it was like two tunnels that basically led into one dark tunnel. And it said the illusion of choice, and one tunnel entrance said AEW, and the other one said WWE, and they both led into the dark tunnel that was labeled toxic wrestling fans.
That is kind of true.
It's everybody has their group of toxic people, and we probably see more on the WWE side because they have more people that watch them on a regular basis. That's just you can argue with it all you want. It's the numbers don't lie. They have more people that watch them on a regular basis. So
Yeah.
they have more fans, they have a bigger fan base, they're going to have more toxic people.
I've noticed like when it comes to toxic wrestling fans, it's like WWE is their toxic wrestling fans are, yeah, who cares what you enjoy? This draws more money, and we're gonna put you down. This is gonna put your little sideshow down, and then we're gonna dance on it because woo, we're WWE, and then that's the first time anybody ever kicked out of the Perfect Plex, according to commentary. Um, But with AEW, it's more so like, hey, I have my opinion. You have a wrong opinion. Why is my opinion wrong? Well, because we here in the AEW fan base and a man named Dave has determined that your opinion is wrong.
It does not compute. It does not equal the same.
Oh, you thought that this Kenny Omega match was not the best? You're wrong because we say so and Dave says so. So it's like, pick your toxicity. Oh,
Jesus.
no wonder Kurt had to take even more time off.
Like, his back is getting just as fucked up as his leotard.
It's called a singlet.
His leotard.
It's a singlet.
Oh, now I'm just going to call him all a leotard.
You're making wrestling look bad.
I'm making wrestling look bad.
You're making Mr. Perfect look bad.
I think the ramen noodle hair did its part too. I'm just saying.
Was the style at the time. See, Brett's not really mullety.
But it kind of is though.
He's not really as mullety as like. We're gonna see some mullets tonight, and Brett is doing okay. Brett is doing okay.
It's Page
Jeez!
Boy at the least.
I can buy that one.
Mr. Perfect is cussing him at this point.
It's like, hey Brett, you're the baby face. You're not supposed to like fight the referee, bud. Look at me telling Bret Hart how to work.
I'm not surprised. You're a Shawn Michaels fan,
Yeah,
so I'm
I know.
0% surprised that you're sitting here telling Bret how to work.
But I'm also gonna say this. I can at least still appreciate Bret Hart. I've noticed less from the. There's a lot more Shawn fans are like, yeah, Bret's still pretty damn good. From the Bret side of things, it's like, Shawn's not good. He was a piece of shit, and the only good matches he had were because of Bret. You see a lot more olive branch. I can appreciate Bret Hart's matches from Shawn fans. To me, I'm sure there's some Bret fans out there that still appreciate Shawn, but I've noticed a lot more here in this community. Oh yeah, Bret's cool, than from the Bret community of, oh yeah, Shawn's cool.
Shawn's not cool.
No, he screwed Bret. He was in on it. Even though they're at good terms, we cannot be. Do you know that's how the internet works?
I must take up the mantle of hatred.
Let's take up the mantle of this.
When you work the work and work yourself into a shoot.
Jabroni Marks. Aren't you so excited to see him later?
I called an Uber before that match.
Okay. Well, I'm just gonna I'm basically just gonna make fun of everything in it. Like that's gonna be like the roast match.
Now it's time for the main event. How many times can we say the C word without pissing people off?
Getting canceled. I mean, to be fair, using the C word, I do like this finish here.
God, and he went back on it.
Ugh. Emotionless Stu clapping.
Yeah.
The boy finally got tired. It's that damn time.
Oh,
And a disrobing.
and it's a divas match, you guys.
We can get out of here soon. I got some cats to feed. For everybody gets mad at me for making fun of Stu, that was like Jerry Lawler's shtick for the longest time, was just making fun of Stu and Helen.
Yeah, that's not justifying anything. You know that, right?
I know. I'm just saying.
Oh, he's gonna talk.
Oh, fine young specimen won the title. It hurts your voice doing Stu.
That's what you get.
He pulled the Michael. Stu wasn't done talking. There's Bruce. Gotta get his fucking FaceTime in.
Well, yeah.
Fucking, he's the one that stepped on Vince McMahon at the during that WrestleMania match. Hot ticket.
It's not a hot ticket.
Exclusively on Hulk Hogan, the real American. Oh, gee. Wonder what kind of things are going to be on that.
Bunch of bullshit.
Coming this October, I bet you paid for that, didn't you?
Oh, 100%. I paid for that. My favorite thing. Got it on DVD now.
The first wrestling DVD I ever bought, though, was a Hulk Hogan DVD. Now, this was before I knew that he was kind of a bad person. Wow, seeing Andre this way makes me sad. And no, I'm not talking about just being with the Bushwhackers.
Just they could have done a better job at hiding like the crutch.
Yeah. Yeah, you just. This is heartbreaking.
It's
I mean,
not.
I know, like, it's rough to see Andre this way. Like, even if you go back and watch the WrestleMania 3 match, like, you could tell in the match with Hogan that
Oh, he's
Andre's
not.
in a lot of pain. Yeah.
Yeah.
That was one of the main reasons why I bought that Hulk Hogan DVD, is because it had that match on it.
Loved Andre.
Let's see that one. I bought that, and then I bought the one where they had the match at Shea Stadium. So, like, I didn't know Hulk was quite the douche that he ended up, what we found out he was. So I bought that DVD thinking, like, hey, here's all this old wrestling I've never seen before. And you know what? To a point, I'm glad I did it, because I got to see a lot of old wrestling that I was not aware of what wrestling was before 1994 before. I mean, I've seen some clips, but I never got to see some 1979, 1980 matches and things like that. And that was cool. But this was also before WWE had a new DVD release every month with that kind of thing on there. That's actually an interesting question. And comment this in the if listeners comment your answer in the comment section below. What was the first wrestling DVD you remember purchasing? My first DVD, I bought a lot of VHS tapes. My first DVD was the 2002 Hulk Still Rules DVD. What was your what's let me know your first DVD and what was your first DVD, CJ?
I'm trying to remember. I think that the first actual like DVD was a Stone Cold compilation set because I would have purchased that would have yeah, I think that would have been the one. I had, tons of VHS. And we record. My dad was big into the VCR, so we recorded a lot of things from Raw and decide to rewind, stop, and make our own compilations on our VHS, and he'd get tapes from people. But I'm pretty sure that was the first actual DVD that I went out and bought. And he made fun of me. He's like, "Why you need that? We got the VHS, all that. We got all that on the VHS. We taped that ourselves. You wasted your money. VHS will always be good." It's, oh, how the times have changed.
Yeah. I mean, I still have a bunch of wrestling DVD. I still have. Now it's just even more sad saying Andre that way because now he's wearing that hat. Um, I'm never gonna get rid of my wrestling DVDs because if there's ever a time where the internet goes out, wrestling DVDs save my fucking bacon. Like everything that I truly love, I'm glad I have a hard copy of. Like not just wrestling, but like I'm glad I have a hard copy of Batman the Animated Series. I'm glad I have hard copy of Cowboy Bebop. I'm glad I have hard copies of Friends and The Office and Rocco's Modern Life and uh, the Dark Knight trilogy. All these things that I love, I'm glad I have some sort of hard copy of it to always have. But you know, in recent years, like I've bought less and less. Even like the Kevin Owens and the Seth Rollins collections, I didn't buy those. Because I'm like, and I can just go to the at the time the network and find that. Now I did buy back when the pandemic first hit. High Spots had 50% off DVDs, and I went to fucking town buying DVDs on that app on High Spots then. But like I was buying things like here's a 6-disc Kenta Kobashi set, and here's a 6-disc William Regal in the circuses set, and you know here's a compilation of Chris Jericho in Japan. I'm like, okay, yeah, I probably should buy those.
I don't have that many wrestling DVDs. I still have the Stone Cold compilation. I think I have a Rock compilation. I have the 2012 Royal Rumble on DVD because I thought that was cool.
Oh yeah, same.
Because we were there, not together, but we were both there. I I don't have. I'm glad I kept the VHS that Dad worked hard on to tape things because there are certain things, especially now, in a time where we're kind of trying to rewrite things that would anger people now. You can't go back and change that if it's on somebody's VHS tape where they taped it from live TV. And I think the commercials from back then are kind of cool too, to remember what they were selling and how they were selling it. But I do still have those. I have a lot of VHS still, so I will probably always keep the VHS. I have a VCR where I can watch those things still. Um, I have some DVDs, not as many. Um, I have the basics that I need to get by if if I have electricity, but I don't have if the internet or cable is out. But I've always been more of a book person personally, so I have lots and lots and lots of books to keep me occupied.
Yeah, I still have a lot of comic books I've yet to read. It is really hard for me to give a fuck about this match.
See that the 3-man tag was a lot more interesting than this tag match that obviously had a little bit of a backstory to it.
I think it's just because I'm cynical. And it's like, oh, the Bushwhackers. I don't care. It's all all cynicism for me. That's why I don't like it. Which sucks because Earthquake was great.
I never got into them. Anybody here, I just really never. But they were kind of gone when I really
Yeah,
started taking interest in it.
I mean the Bushwhackers. I would see they'd kind of come in and be filler and do some jobs when I first started watching wrestling. Just be kind of one and done people on like superstars and stuff like that. Like a lot of people don't realize this, but like the Bushwhackers, they stuck around for a long time. Like they were into the new generation. The Bushwhackers were around. Like
Yeah.
Even Mick Foley said like they would put the Bushwhackers in for dark matches, um, in '96 and '97, which feels weird to think about because you knew how like everything was changing, starting to change in '96, '97. It's hard to believe that the Bushwhackers were still on WWF payroll at the time.
They probably still are. Like they're creeping under the future endeavored radar.
um, I do know Bushwhacker Luke was at the first ever Ring of Honor show. He wrestled in the first ever Ring of Honor show I went to, and it was just like, oh god, I thought I paid for Ring of Honor. Like that was just kind of my reaction. I do know people have said if you watch their old stuff as the Sheep Herders, it's like a lot different.
Yeah. I've heard that a lot.
Hell, the right team won though. You gotta.
But they weren't fighting for Andre's honor.
Yeah.
Oh, never mind. It's not gonna matter.
Oh hey, LOD. Oh god, just made myself sad that only
Don't.
Typhoon is. Yeah.
I'm
Just
like, I
just kind of
knew
dawned on me. All
that.
right, okay. Real quick though, since it is relevant, Jimmy Hart, one of the nicest people in the fucking world. I have to put that out there.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
even with your cynicism towards Jimmy Hart that day, Jimmy Hart is one of the nicest, coolest people in the world.
Yeah. Yeah. He was very in it to make the fans happy, and he was a total team player. Total
Even
team player.
even was tearing down and setting up stuff. at an independent show in Belleville, Illinois. So I will never say anything bad about Jimmy Hart.
I always will struggle now to say something bad about Jimmy Hart, but I'm pretty sure I could probably still find some things. Do it.
Yeah,
Embarrass the fuck out of him.
and
It's
he's
not
got.
going to be hard. He does it himself.
I wonder if that's actually Hulk. Like kayfabe was actually supposed to be Hogan's dressing room, or if that was just Bobby Heenan doing some weaselly shit. But you let me face it, like just put it right. That was the WCW Championship on a WWF pay per view held by um um the Tins Yield.
Yeah.
Who's he
Oh,
supposed to be
yeah,
talking
yeah.
to?
I'm not sure, but it's pretty typical macho being paranoid. I think it was the 1-900 number that the fans could call into and talk to the wrestlers.
You know, we kind of make fun of those sort of things, but
Oh, that was money all day long.
oh yeah,
Poor Virgil.
yeah. For Virgil, and then you see like Virgil now, and you're like, oh well, hey. Even though like the stereotype of what they were going for here is not so cool.
He was so good. He's so good.
Oh yeah. You believe that Ted DiBiase was the most evil man in the world?
Oh, yeah.
Sean Mooney is somebody that sometimes I forget that I actually met briefly at all in weekend. Because they did do a promo, and you could do a promo with Joel Gertner, Sean Mooney, or Tony Schiavone, and I chose Tony Schiavone. Because you had to pay for them, and I just thought it wanted to do Tony. Um, but while I was kind of waiting, Sean was kind of talking to some of us, and I, like, okay, cool, I'll talk to Sean. I shook his hand, and I remember he was just on the Edge and Christian show, so I thought that was cool, and talk about that. But it's just something like, it's one of those deals where all the stuff I did that weekend and all the people I met so many people, some get lost, and I'm like, oh yeah, I met Sean Mooney. Kind kind of like for WrestleMania weekend, it was like, oh yeah, I met Bryce Remsburg. So, talk about a match with some heat on it. Here is one, and it is Virgil of all people, the wrestling superstar. So Virgil,
Oh, Virgil.
the first ever wrestling meme I could think of. Virgil wrestling, lonely Virgil.
I mean, the crowd was into it.
Yeah, I mean,
You can't argue with the results.
now the crowd was the crowd into it because they love Virgil or because they love Virgil beating up the $1 Million Man.
They love Virgil beating up the $1 Million Man.
Yeah, I'd say it's probably. I mean, Virgil had to do something. I'm not gonna say he deserves no credit, but I'm gonna say more than half of the credit, and that's probably me putting this as diplomatically and generously as possible. Belongs to DiBiase.
I mean, we talk about the lonely Virgil meme, but he has enough of a name to get a spot at the table.
Yeah. Oh, again, referencing some other YouTubers, which I probably shouldn't be doing, but uh, Brian Zane did a tremendous video about Virgil, and kind of like, hey, I'm going to try and defend Virgil, for the way he is, and he kind of he makes his points, like, hey, he was there, he has as much right to say anything, Virgil was there. He was in the NWO. He was in these big matches. Um, but something uh, you have Heenan coming back, but um, I can only imagine what it was like watching this. Ah, dang.
Yeah.
At the time, and you are literally seeing the NWA/WCW title on WWF TV with Bobby Heenan saying not even like hinting around anything, going like Ric Flair is coming, Ric Flair is coming, Ric Flair is coming. Like dating ourselves a little bit at the time of this recording. We're hearing all this rumor and innuendo of like Cody's going to show up in WWE. Cody's going to show up in WWE. He's going to show, and everybody's thinking, oh, is Cody going to show up? Is he not? And here we're getting like this would be the equivalent of, hey, Cody's going to be coming to WWE, and oh, he's got the TNT belt with him.
Yeah.
He's still got that TNT belt. He's going to be in WWE, and they're having there's somebody holding Virgil's hand there. That was.
They believe in Virgil.
Mm-hmm. Just to put it like I didn't experience as it happened, but I can only just imagine how excited and like the buzz and the hype would be of being pretty well told this is what's going to happen, and here it is, and here's the name, and here's the belt, and here's all of that. Like. Yeah. It would be like if Adam Pearce was walking around right now going, Cody Rhodes is coming and here's his belt. Cody Rhodes is coming and here's his belt.
Somebody just picks up the TNT title, sees it laying on a stack of equipment, like, what is this?
Yeah, that'd be how they do it today. They wouldn't have Bobby Heenan. They would have somebody like Bobby Heenan like going like, whoa, here's a big deal, and here's the comparing this belt to the belt, he said, comparing this belt to the belt Hulk Hogan wears is like comparing ice cream to horse manure. You wouldn't hear that. You'd be like, oh, what's this? Oh, that's dumb. Bye. I don't like the fans that are like, oh, wrestling, wrestling was so much better back then. It needs to go back to being the way it was then because back then superstars were superstars. You could have the superstars now. It's just how they're presented. Back then, they not everything was presented for a laugh or to be cheeky or to be funny. Like when Vince knew when it was time to get serious and time to make people look good, and he stuck with his guns, and he did. He's got a heat on fucking Virgil, for Christ's sake.
Yeah.
Like you know, but now it's like, this whole thing would be played. This whole thing would have been forgotten about in 2 weeks and played for a laugh.
Or dragged on for months with no end.
Yeah, one of the two.
I go for the second one just because I think he would have found enjoyment with humiliating Virgil for months on end with no real payoff.
Yeah.
Naomi.
Ugh. Is this the end? No, Sherry's got to get involved
No.
with the loaded purse.
Sherry was
Eh.
great.
Oh, we all love Sherry, but damn, imagine how livid we'd be right now, like if we'd paid money for this. Like this is something that in the old days of wrestling, I'm kind of glad they've gotten past, which is having these like blatant DQs on pay-per-view.
Everybody listen to the fake.
Dang. Listen to that pop for this. Like, crowd is hot for this. So, you can say, oh, it's because the superstars were superstars. And they're doing this for Virgil. I have a hard time believing Virgil is better than the current day wrestlers. But I think it's just all in it's all in presentation, and you know it isn't because this was wrestling when men were men and superstars were superstars and they weren't, 5'9" and they weren't, they didn't look like fucking children that I could see across the street. No, it's because they were presented a way to be taken seriously. And if Vince McMahon were to just do that again, it would be just fine. But instead, Vince McMahon would rather say, hey, yeah, that's right, they all suck now. But if you'd like, we're going to have a Legends Night where you can remember all the ones that we used better. How's that sound?
Well, and if we're going on that, everybody wants to critique how Adam Cole looks right now. And I grant you that Ted DiBiase is not as short as Adam Cole. He's a very, very tall man, but he is not a bodybuilder. He's he's a he's in good shape, but he is what we would probably call today a little flabby.
Yeah.
He's rocking a little bit of what they're giving Adam Cole so much crap for. But it doesn't matter. He's still taken very, very seriously in the match because of how seriously he's presented.
Mm-hmm.
And holding his own with someone who is much more muscular and cut than he is, and that's in Virgil. And that's still not to say he's a. I mean, we'll see it later with Warrior. That was the image that Vince really, really wanted to start pushing, and neither of these two really fit that.
Yeah.
And yet it didn't matter to the crowd, did it? No, it did
No,
not.
no, because Vince cared. I mean, hell, in interviews, Ted's even said, when he was approached or when he was called about, a spot, Pat Patterson called and said, I can't tell you any details on the character, but the only thing I will tell you is if Vince McMahon could wrestle, this would be the character he'd want to play. And yeah.
And I think it has a lot to do with just the fact that he has such a presence. He was so good. He's so charismatic. He he made you really believe it. And that's it. Does at the end of the day, I don't think it really
And
matters.
and those vignettes,
Yeah,
of him, I have my own private pool, but I don't really feel like using my private pool. I'd rather just pay to shut down the public pool so no one else can swim. Like you'd see things like God, you're a prick.
yeah, he's so good. And then they have Piper over there screaming his freaking head off, putting him over more.
Yeah. And fucking Piper's screaming at Virgil. So we already know that it's important now because he's not. Vince is not instructing Roddy Piper to go. And yes, and don't forget later on in the show we got Hulk Hogan, the Ultimate Warrior, versus not being told go promote some things that are more important for later on, or shill Cricket Wireless,
Or make
um,
fun of how he's untying the rope on the buckle pad and
yeah. I use this comparison all the time, but it's like when McDonald's, the reason why McDonald's no longer cares if you say I'm not gonna, you messed up my food and I'm not gonna come back, it's because they're like, okay, and like that is the WWE thing. Like we know you're gonna watch,
yeah.
and even if you don't, that's fine to us.
Still
Go.
getting paid. And they've explained what happens if this is a thing,
Yeah, they
which
don't
is
have
fantastic. They
they
don't
don't
go, I don't know what happens now.
they don't have these fluid rules and these fluid morals.
Even though you cheated. Even though you cheated, Virgil.
Oh, he's just got to make that fuck money somehow. I wonder if anybody listening donated to his Indiegogo campaign, which is he wanted to make Virgil the $1 million man by just asking the fans to give him $1 million.
I don't know. Let us know if you gave money to Virgil.
If you wasted money by giving it to Virgil.
Did Virgil work you over for some money? Let us know. You can remain anonymous.
Yeah,
I'd want to be anonymous.
I definitely. Well, yeah, it's come to the point now where like all his stories are just like that. It's like even if like Virgil was at a convention, like I don't know if I'd want to go give him money for an autograph or anything.
Yeah, I'd probably pass.
Here we're leading into the other match I've seen on this card because it was considered John Cena's favorite match, and they played it on Confidential. No, I am not making this up.
This is John Cena's favorite match.
That's what he said was his favorite match.
Weird flex, but okay. Okay.
So, for those who don't know, this is a jailhouse match where the loser of this match will spend a night in a New York City jail.
It's going to the pokey.
Look at that cop in the middle, just like, what is going on? What have I gotten myself into tonight?
Like, don't flinch. It's paycheck. It's paycheck.
I'm getting to be on TV. Because I've heard like shoot interviews where they say like, these were like legitimate New York police officers.
Oh.
It's weird seeing Boss Man. Like, I don't know. To me, it's weird seeing Boss Man as a babyface because when I think of Boss Man, I think of like Vince McMahon's corporation enforcer or the guy that like made fun of the Big Show's dad for dying.
I remember Good Guy Boss Man. It was I he I don't know. He had a very similar looking uniform and haircut and just overall look to a family member of mine. So I don't know. He was just, even when he was a bad guy, it's like, oh, I can't. Sorry. That looks too much like this person. I can't. Because I mean, it was. I can show pictures. It was very, very, very similar.
Yeah,
And from all accounts, he's just like the nicest guy ever.
I've heard that about Boss Man.
Yeah, yeah. I've never heard a bad boss man story.
Um, Here's just something that I know you're not supposed to question this as when it happens, but something I'm thinking about now. So, what are the charges for losing a wrestling match and going to jail? Like, how are they processing you? Like, what is the criminal charge there of losing wrestling match?
um,
Are they finally going to call you out on just randomly shocking people with a fucking taser?
well, I mean, I guess defrauding the audience. They're gonna get you. They're gonna get you on fraud charges. It's white collar crime. Wrestling is white collar crime.
Wrestling is white collar crime.
Make that a T-shirt. I mean, other unless you're gonna like decide to work charge him with like assault, which means that there are a bunch of other people on this show tonight that also need to go.
Right. Throw you in a cell with who knows. I am going to say this. Part of this has not aged well after the fact.
Mm-mm.
So just giving you a little heads up.
Punches and no wrestling maneuvers.
Probably this is not your 5-star classic match.
No, this is your popcorn match.
This is your popcorn match, but like even when Cena on Confidential said this was like his favorite match, it was because he even kind of said it was um it was more so the stuff that happened after, which again, not aging well.
No. Way to go, Cena. You
Oh
piss off
God, Bobby
China,
Heenan.
you piss off the world. I think he lost a couple of teeth in that.
Really, just kind of don't. I really don't know what to add for this match. It's just like it's bizarre. I mean, this is one of those ones where, like, as much as I'm putting over, like, how things, and I will say that they've done a good job. There were stakes in this match. There were like this was not a bad idea for a match. You have these two like police sort of characters, and you know, if they're gonna have a feud with the two police characters, one of them going to jail is how you end the feud. Like that's not a bad idea. It's just one of those things that like it was acceptable at the time. It was entertaining at the time. I don't know. Even like 10 years ago, I don't know how it would have gone over to have a loser goes to jail match.
Yeah. I think that's kind of why they needed Jimmy out there to, because the crowd doesn't seem super into it either. He's gotta, he's gotta scream and do his whole thing.
Uh, well, I mean, they just had the coronation of Virgil in the last match, so they're pretty tired.
Yeah.
Okay, I didn't. That's a good drop kick from the Mountie.
Jimmy's saying, "Hurry, hurry, hurry, hurry!"
I'm kind of ready for the match to end right
It's
now.
like, "We're getting cut, man. We're getting cut."
We're getting cut, but don't worry. There's like 10 minutes of segments of me going to jail that we're gonna have.
I've watched Columbo.
Uh, I don't think I've ever watched Columbo. That's about the only thing I can say to that.
You never watched Columbo?
Not enough to where I remember anything about him. I know of Columbo, and I know he's got like that voice, and he's a detective and stuff. But like, I couldn't tell you like a straight up like, oh yes, Columbo sort of thing.
Ah, yes, the show Columbo. So it was on. It would be on TV quite often. Something's happening.
Oh no!
He missed.
And there goes his little
Cattle prod.
that apparently makes a honking sound.
Does it make a honking sound?
Not from any of my experiences.
Well, now it makes like an electrocution sound
Well,
because Johnny Knoxville used it on a Sami Zayn before the Royal Rumble, and it would go zzz, and it would make the lights go out in the building inexplicably.
okay, I really feel like he shouldn't have kicked out there. I really feel like the Mountie should not have kicked out there. Like, that was not the right thing to do. Like, that
No,
should,
I've got a bigger finish in mind.
bigger finish like Vossman doing like a 450 splash. So that was the finish that we had to stop with. Okay, then.
I don't think that's properly how you detain someone, nor is that how you handcuff them.
Yeah, you wouldn't want him to have this. He could still choke you. They probably had to for the sake of this vignette. Like, there's casual Ricky Steamboat there. And what the fuck was that he was wearing?
Right
This,
to the paddy wagon.
this, this does remind me of a moment at Starcast again where we saw somebody try and steal something from Jeff Jarrett, and we saw the cops taking the guy away. So me and the people I was kind of hanging out with, including Matthew of Botchmania, started singing at him, "You'll be serving hard times." And all the people in New York actually thinking, "Oh, dear, we gotta get out of the way because of this." And it's like, no, it's just a wrestling storyline, you guys.
Well, I'm sure they've got quite a bit of garage before they actually get to the street.
Oh yeah, I've heard Arn Anderson say that that was like the worst arena to try and get out of.
Oh, no, there they
No,
go.
no, there was not.
Nope. They took it all the way to the street.
Roddy Piper with "I never thought I would like that sound."
Shoot, brother.
All right, we are going to put a pin in this one. I want to thank you all for joining us. Be sure to tune in next week for part 2. The timestamp next week will be 1 hour, 27 minutes, 30 seconds on the dot. And yeah, if you enjoyed, please like, share, subscribe for more content, and we'll see you next time.